afternoon all, and welcome to another Fortean Words. It's just me and Ian this week, and we're going to do Fred West. But first, we're going to do Ian's favourite subject, which is the Loch Ness Monster, the new the new photograph that has emerged.
Let's have a look, and good evening, everyone. Let's see what we've got from Loch Ness.
Yeah, got it.
The latest photograph. You got it up? Let's have a look then. Right. Interesting. It's a fair size, isn't it? So, could be the monster. What do you think, Hemi?
Oh, I don't know. It just looks there's something a bit weird about it. It just looks a bit opaque to me. It looks CGI'd to me. Like someone's been on the old Photoshop. What's your opinion then, Ian?
Well, that back is the back of a catfish. So it's not the monster. Yeah, that is. If you look at a picture of a catfish, that back is exactly the same. So, but if you look at it, it does seem to be photoshopped, doesn't it?
So basically, someone's photoshopped a catfish into a...
Yeah, blew it up and made it look like a monster, and there we are. Or you could believe that is the monster itself.
Trying to find a catfish back picture.
They get to a fair size, though, catfish, so it could be mistaken for the monster. And Steve Feltham, he's a monster hunter. He's been there since the early 90s, about 30 years now.
He's a bit more serious than the carnival fella, then, is he?
Well, there is a bit of comedy in his when he presents himself. He says it's a Wells catfish, the monster, due to the size that they get. So after 30 years research, unfortunately it's not a plesiosaur, which we would all like it to be, wouldn't we?
I haven't got a catfish's back, but I've got a catfish's front, which same pattern and same colours. So.
But it hasn't got a long neck and small head catfish, has it? It's just got a fat head straight onto its body. So
yeah,
so doesn't fit the descriptions that we get totally.
It's a pretty good CGI job, but I don't know, just a gut feeling tells me that it doesn't look quite right.
No, it doesn't. There's something funny about it, isn't there?
Yeah.
And also, why not take a film, another photo? Eh?
Yeah.
More photos? Just the one photo, yeah. Bullshit. So
the images were captured by Southampton resident Steve Challis, who had been on holiday in Scotland last September with his brother when they visited Urquhart Castle.
Yes, it's a nice place to visit. I would recommend it, and I'd like to go again. I've been in the past. I'd like to go again soon. I didn't see any monster when I was there, but there's some good stuff there, and it's worth a visit.
Yeah, did you see they're doing up the what's his name's house? The Alistair Crowley house.
I saw something of that. I'm not sure who has bought it now, but it was the singer of Led Zeppelin, wasn't it, who bought it?
Yeah, guitar player, Jimmy Page.
Yeah, So yeah, it's all mystery at Loch Ness, but they just need a Bigfoot now as well, don't they? And they'll have the set.
Yeah.
There is UFO activity reported.
Oh, I've just found there's another Loch Ness story on the side. While we're on Loch Ness, let's do another one, shall we? Bird's nest inside the Loch Ness monster's head.
Do we have a photo?
It's not. Is that the ruins of the castle or something?
The Urquhart Castle, yeah.
Lack of visitors to the iconic Scottish loch during lockdown has made it possible for nature to take over. At this time of year, Loch Ness usually buzzing with activity, a destination for visitors from all over the world who've travelled to Scotland for a chance to glimpse the legendary monster. Due to coronavirus, blah blah. Your mate Steve Feltham got a mention. One business owner impacted by the situation is Adam De Silva of the Doors Inn, a lochside establishment that is situated next to the home of famed Nessie hunter Steve Feltham. But in his caravan, he lives in it's a converted library, mobile library. Yeah, he lives in that. There's the monster. So Sparrow. So there must be a Nessie statue somewhere, and sparrows are living in it.
Yeah, there's a few, and they've got one by the museum, which is I did have my photo taken with that actually.
Well, this one looks like it's got dreadlocks. It's like a lizard head, and it's got like dreadlock looking things on there.
and fangs.
Yes. Yeah, that's the one.
The vampire Nessie. So there's two Forteans in one there. Yeah, nice. Well, that's it then. It was a model of Nessie, not the real Nessie then.
Yeah, so not real Nessie's head.
Okay, just clickbait,
Right,
isn't it?
Shall we get down to brass tacks then?
The West murders. Yes, is that what we're going to cover
young
now?
Frederick
West. Let's have a look then. See what we've got tonight.
There's the handsome chap there. He had a lovely line in jumpers, didn't he?
He did. He liked the jumper. And,
he liked a Christmas jumper, didn't he?
He liked a Christmas jumper and a Christmas kill as well. So. That's his garden.
Yeah, it's. I've put these on random, so there's kind of all kinds of. It includes the Sunday sports story about the man whose fridge is haunted by Fred West.
Yeah. Yes, it's like it would be like that. So let's see. There he is having a fag.
There's the ghost.
And a drink.
Ghost of Fred West haunts my 25 Cromwell Street.
Maybe you keep parts of the body in there. Keep it preserved. But anyway, let's have a look then. Let's have a look at Fred's background. So Frederick Walter Stephen West, born 29th of September 1941, died 1st of January 1995. So died on New Year's Day. So he must have had a good night the night before. So he committed at least 12 murders, or 12 murders that we know of.
12 confirmed, I think is what we can say, can we?
Yeah, I think there's clearly more, but they're the only ones that have been confirmed. And that was between the 20-year period from 1967 to 1987 in Gloucester, majority of which were done with his second wife, Rose West. So let's have a look at Fred's background and his upbringing and see what factors could have contributed to his later behaviour. So he spent his early life living on a farm with his family in a place called Muchmarcle, Hertfordshire. This was where the foundations of his murderous life were laid. The cottage where they lived had no electricity, and his family consisted of his mother, his father, 5 brothers and sisters. So there were 6 children in that family. So there we go. So he had to obviously live in a crowded house with those others. Just having some Heineken. So his mother gave birth to 8 children altogether, but 2 died. It's how it was in those days. Big families, often they died of something or other. Polio, something like that. And Fred was always his mother's favourite. The children did all the farm work as it was a necessity to survive. And this instilled a strong work ethic into Fred in later life. Bear with me one moment, just having a swig. So in his school, his classmates were they would pick on him, describe him as scruffy, dim, lethargic, and he was often in trouble. So,
well, I don't know. The lethargic thing, I don't know. He's a very industrious young man, isn't he?
Yeah, that came from his work ethic, not his brain. But yeah, so he was the thick kid in the class, the one that was picked on, calling him thicko, dense, shit like that.
Bumfucker.
So this is the good bit here. The first bit where we can look at what could have influenced him. So Fred admitted that when he was introduced to sex by his mother, and when he was 12, that was when he was 12. So he shagged his mother when he was 12, basically. So that's quite disturbing, isn't it?
Well, that'll learn him, won't it?
Yeah.
It's like, why couldn't she just taught him how to sew or something instead?
Yeah, motherfucker. So anyway.
Literally.
At this stage in his life, he also engaged in acts of bestiality with the animals.
Was their favourite quiz show All in the Family?
Or Family Fortunes. Or other quiz shows with family in the title. There was one called Ask the Family, wasn't it?
It's Ask the Family. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Really. Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to ask that family; they might tell you.
ask them, but you'd be in for a shock with their answer.
Yeah.
But anyway, so during this time as well, he was engaging in acts of bestiality with animals on the farm. So sheep. I'm not sure what other ones you could have sex with. Goat, maybe. Not chicken, surely. And
if they had llamas, it'd be a bit tricky, wouldn't it?
Yeah, llamas aren't that common a farm animal in this country, though, are they? So it's mainly probably goats and sheep. So, this so pretty messed up behaviour from an early age from Fred. Sheep shagging, incest, not good. And the interesting thing is, it was his father who taught him how to shag animals. Pretty sick, isn't it? My father taught me how to drive, so that's. And I would think everyone else's father did that as well. So yeah, messed up behaviour from Fred from a very early age. And basically what his father instilled in him was do anything you want. It doesn't matter as long as you get away with it. As long as no one knows, fuck it. Kill people, rape people.
It ain't a crime if you don't get caught.
Exactly, it's not, is it? It's true as well. We've all done it. So
I don't think I've done some of the stuff he's done.
I haven't done anything, but I would say that, wouldn't I? Even if I have done something, no one's going to know. Okay. So anyway, in his so obviously he was growing up at this age, and in his teenage years, he socialised at the local youth club. Obviously, that's where, in those days especially, was where you would meet your girlfriend, your future wife, whatever. But Fred, instead of like charming him his way in, he would aggressively approach women and girls and basically he objectified them as objects of pleasure and would just approach them and fondle them straight away without doing the small talk, getting the green light, whatever. He just went for it. So, yeah, so again, not good behavior, very aggressive sexual behavior going on in his teenage years. So, girls that would take a bit.
It also says on the Wikipedia that his dad was having sex with Fred's sisters as well.
Really? I'm not.
But Fred's youngest brother Doug dismissed these claims as fantasy on Fred's part.
Yeah, it's hard to say because obviously, if it's true that he was shagging animals, then I would have thought that shagging his daughter's sisters, whatever, then that wouldn't really be such a big hurdle, would it? So,
yeah, the moral high bar is already pretty low, isn't it? It's like you're going to step over it. You haven't got to jump over that one, have you?
At least it's the same race as your sister, even though it's wrong. At least you're having sex with another human rather than a pig or whatever he was doing.
Oh, Jesus. Maybe that's a step up in morals. You never know what these people think, do you?
It's a tough one to choose between, isn't it? But I think you have to go for incest rather than bestiality. So.
Uno keeps saying, what's the background of the father? Do you know anything about the father? I mean, was he ex-military? Well, at his age, he was bound to have fought in World War II, wasn't he? I'd assume.
Interesting that because it's not too clear, whether he was too much into this sexual abuse, whatever. But he did get married to quite an older woman when he was in his 20s. She was in her 40s. There's about 20-year age gap. She died, and the cause of death was put down to a bee sting. So obviously that's a bit funny, isn't it? You don't usually die of that. So it's thought that maybe his father did kill his first.
Well, she was 8 years older than him because she was born in 1922 and he was born in 1914. So I'd say there's a good chance he went away to war then, isn't there? World War II.
Yeah, it's possible. I know Rose's father did, and we'll come on to that. But yeah, it's an interesting observation in what happened in his father's life, and things weren't as documented as well as they were on the death
possibly
certificate.
Not if he was a farmer. It could have been a possibility it didn't go away if he was a farmer, couldn't it?
Yes, it is possible, but yeah, it's not. There's because it was. This is Fred's father. It was quite a long time ago. The facts aren't clear, and they never will be. But just interested in that one fact that his wife died of a bee sting, which is, he probably clubbed her to death or something. But yeah, so that was Fred. His aggressive approach to the girls in the youth club, etc. Some girls, though, would take up his advantages and get off with him, and they reported that his sexual performances were unsatisfactory, and his primary objective was his own gratification. So he couldn't please a woman. Yeah, so too interested in his own satisfaction. Yeah, let's move on. So when Fred was 17, he bought a motorbike, and 2 months later he had an accident. This resulted in a fractured skull, a broken arm, and a broken leg. He was also unconscious for 7 days and walked with braces for several months. Due to this accident, he developed an extreme fear of hospitals and became prone to fits of rage.
Well, I was going to say this covers I've seen quite a few things about serial killers, and there's a few things that are kind of basics to become a serial killer. One of them seems to be it's some sort of head injury, some sort of like really messed up relationship with your parents, and I think it's bedwetting or fire starting are the other two, aren't they?
Yeah, they're all factors, but the knock on the head, it does come into serial killers quite regular. And Rose had a similar kind of thing we can touch on later. But obviously a smash on the head or a fractured skull, that's not going to do your mental state much good, is it? So what we'll do is look at another experience he had along the same lines. So 2 years after that motorbike accident, he had another head injury, and what it was, he was trying it on with a girl. And this was on a fire escape, so he was doing his usual very forward advances on a fire escape, and in response she punched him, and then he fell 2 floors. So again, a knock on the head.
Probably banged his head on the steps a good few times as well on the way down there, didn't he, as well?
He banged his head on the steps, but he didn't bang anything else, did he? So got what he deserved. Yeah, so obviously there we go. By the time he was 17, he'd had these unusual sexual experiences, and also these knocks on the head, which one of them was quite serious as well. So also, he wasn't a bad-looking guy before these accidents as well, but his accidents messed his face up a bit, and also it gave him a limp as well. So he was walking with a limp, so wasn't quite the ladies' man after that he was before. So let's have a look then. Let's have a look at June 1961. So Fred's 13-year-old sister, Kitty, told their mother that Fred had been raping her and impregnated her. So there you go again, some more incest going on. Fred was arrested for this and admitted to the police that he'd been molesting young girls since his early teens. And basically, he said to the police, "Well, we all do it, don't we? It's just normal. It's what we do. You do it." Said to the police, "Surely you do it." But no, obviously they didn't, and didn't take kindly to this kind of behaviour. So on the 9th of November, Fred was tried, and though disgusted by her son's actions, his mother, Daisy, testified in his defence. And that's probably because she had sex with Fred too. His 13-year-old sister refused to testify against him, and the case collapsed. So there we go. Fred got away with it. So and this is
the other thing that they kind of don't mention with a lot of serial killers as well, is they seem to get away with a lot of crime, don't they, in their younger years?
Not so much these days with all the technology. Technology going on, but Peter Sutcliffe got away with a hell of a lot before he was caught. So and the same with this as well. So
who's that one? I've seen the one on him. Is it the Scottish guy? The one that escaped Broadmoor and killed the young girl. I mean, he got away with loads of like thieving and all sorts, hadn't he?
That was in the 50s, wasn't it?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but
He'd got away with absolutely loads of thieving and kind of like petty crime, hadn't he? Before he moved on to like murder and stuff.
Yeah, he was registered mental though. He was a mental person, so this was put down to his behaviour. But yeah, it's an interesting case that how he got out of Broadmoor, and it just for a few hours really, and in that time he was out, he managed to kill a girl. So yeah, that's and after that they really upped the security of Broadmoor, so we won't be seeing that again.
Well, they didn't up it that much because they used to let Jimmy Savile. They used to give Jimmy Savile the keys.
I know
they?
that was. I know that's. They say of him, the lunatic took over the asylum, and it did in that time. He was basically running the place.
Blimey, that's crack, isn't it? I think we'll have to do a Jimmy Savile episode at some point.
Yes, it'd be interesting to do that. Yeah,
and it'd be about a 3 or 4 parter, wouldn't it? There's some material there, isn't there?
300 odd cases, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And a Rolf Harris case, as well. We could do him. And the worst thing about that is, I did see Rolf Harris live. It wasn't intentional, but I went to this. I went to this school, Kate. I went to a school of fate, and Rolf Harris's grandson went there, and Rolf was there. And then all of a sudden, he just got up on stage and started doing all that thing he does, all his songs or whatever.
He was hanging around the school, then, was he?
Well, we didn't know at the time what he was like, but yeah, it was a good show actually. I enjoyed it, but it's a shame what happened a few years later. But anyway, back to West. Let's see. All right, so that's his childhood covered. I'll go through. Let's start with his first sort of proper relationship with a woman called Rena Costello. So Fred got together with Rena Costello in September 1962. She was 21, and so they met in September 1962. They got married on the 17th of November the same year. So these people like to get married, don't they? So that's what he was doing then.
It's kind of weird as how socially kind of weird they can always find a wife.
I know. It's just messed up, and it gets more messed up. But yeah, so you don't get married after 2 months, but he did. So that's what his thing was. So at the time of his marriage, Rena was pregnant with the child of an Asian bus driver. So she was up the duff. These people just get married, get pregnant. That's their thing. So that's what they do. They moved to Scotland, and Fred worked as an ice cream van driver. So ice cream van driver, that's a good job for a pedo, isn't it? Lollipop man, scout leader. Yeah, it's one of those jobs. So yeah, so he did that.
It could be quite an easy way, like bribing kids with ice creams to do stuff and stuff like that. It's like exactly, you say, ready access, and plus the stuff to bribe kids with as well. It's like a bit of a mix, isn't it?
Give me a 69 and I'll give you a 99. Oh yeah, that didn't work, did it? But anyway, let's see what we got. Like that one, good.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Thursday. There's no more clapping, is there, on a Thursday?
No, it was Sunday this year, wasn't it? Because it was the.
Was it?
Yeah, I didn't hear any though.
So the seals haven't fucked off yet.
I haven't heard any. Nothing now, anyway.
Yeah, pain in the ass. But anyway, all right, back to this. So Rena gave birth to their daughter Charmaine in March 1963. Due to the child's mixed race ancestry, Fred and Rena claimed that they adopted the child, because if you remember, the child's father was an Asian bus driver. So that's what that's what they did to make it Fred.
People were very trusting back then, weren't they? It's like, hold on a minute, they started the paperwork before she miscarried.
Yeah, it was all fucked up, but that's that was the 60s. Anything could go then, wasn't it? Free love.
Your baby's dead. Do you want a free one? Is that what people thought?
Yeah, swapping babies in the hospital. I don't like that one. I think
Yeah.
Take that one of the woman who was asleep.
Yeah.
She won't know. Right.
Obviously not a questioning people up in Scotland then. Ian?
So
we've been joined.
Yeah.
We've been joined by a wild hobbit.
He's back from the wilderness.
Yeah. He can't hear us yet, just carry
Good
on.
evening. Yeah, fuck it. Fucking
He'll talk when he's
ready.
ready.
So anyway, we'll talk it through. So anyway, July 1964, Rena, Fred's wife, gave birth to Fred's child, Anna Marie. So that's what. So that was his actual child. The other one wasn't. And at this time, also the West became friendly with a 16-year-old and a vulnerable young woman who had recently lost her boyfriend because he died in the workplace. I don't know how, but obviously she was having a bit of a trauma. Vulnerable teenage girl.
Do you find Fred is almost like a Charles Manson type character? All these women and people, not men at all, really, is it? But it's just like the way he just kind of has like an entourage.
Well, it's just, and it's just one woman after the other. He was never satisfied. Yeah, but to be honest, if he hadn't done all this, as the person we got to know, I thought he would probably be like, quite a good laugh. Much more of a laugh than Sutcliffe or Shipman or Brady. They were like boring. You could go out for a drink with Fred, and you'd know it'd be a good night.
Fred used to go down the pub and stuff, and people knew him and kind of drank with him and thought he was an okay guy, didn't they, as well?
His neighbour said he was a decent guy and his workmates, but there was more to it than that. He used to let his workmates have a go on his wife, so and people down the pub as well. So it's something to take in. No wonder they'd say he was a good bloke. Yeah. And he was. So anyway, okay. So
we'll get there.
We will get there. So Fred, during the marriage, Fred admitted to having numerous affairs in the early years, fathering an illegitimate child. Rena discovered Fred's infidelity and began an affair with a man called John McLaughlin. So yeah, it's all getting married, getting pregnant, having affairs. Is that the world we want?
It was the
it was
60s,
for Fred,
though.
wasn't it? Yeah, but this is like fucking pond life, isn't it? But anyway, let's have a look. So Fred caught Rena with a lover in an embrace. So he punched Rena. He didn't punch the guy, he punched his wife. In response, John McLaughlin punched Fred. And then at that point, Fred drew a knife, took a swipe at McLaughlin, grazed his stomach. Fred was punched a second time, and he stopped defending himself. And John McLaughlin said in later years about Fred that Fred couldn't tackle a man, but he wasn't slow when attacking women. So yeah, that's pretty sick, isn't it? But wouldn't pick on a bloke. So, yeah, pretty bad news. So John McLaughlin he carried on with his affair with Fred's wife, and seeing a constant flow of bruises and injuries to Rena, where Fred had been beating her, McLaughlin carried out several beatings on Fred. So yeah, he seemed to.
Jesus Christ! Yeah. What the fuck is going on in that house?
I would have joined if I was there. I would have joined in. I would have. I would have had my go, definitely.
Did this McLaughlin bloke, did he just like a bit of a free sod of fucking danger on the side of any affair, did he?
He was a nasty piece of work, and you didn't want to muck about with him, but Fred did, and he got what he deserved.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
So, another time McLaughlin what he witnessed was Fred's daughter, Charmaine, and she was an infant at this time, and she asked Fred for an ice cream from his van. Fred's response to this was to strike her across the head, and she was about 3 years old at the time. So McLaughlin intervened and dished out another beating to Fred. So,
did Fred just like a beating? Is that what it was?
Either or McLaughlin liked to dish out a beating.
Yeah, but blimey.
Right. Okay. Then let's move on to the next bit, which is good. So, November 1965. Fred accidentally ran over and killed a small boy in his ice cream van. So that was probably his first victim, or maybe not victim, but the first death caused by him. He didn't do it on purpose.
Hobbit.
Part and parcel of being an ice cream man.
Yeah. Talking about Freddie Boy West, Hobbit.
I gathered. Did he live in Swindon? Am I right in thinking that?
No, Gloucester.
Oh, Swindon, Gloucester, same difference.
They both got a farm accent, haven't they? So
yeah,
a pirate voice. So,
I love her.
So after killing this child, Fred was cleared of any wrongdoing by police, and it was put down to an accident, which it probably was. But Fred probably thought to himself after doing that, I've killed someone and I'm not in jail. This I might be onto something here. So. Yeah, that's what happened.
Not only is he not in jail, he was cleared of any wrongdoing, which obviously, like you say, that would add into that, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So he shagged sheep, got away with it.
He got away with getting his sister pregnant, got away with running a kid over,
got away with shagging his mother.
Yeah.
So he was getting away with things, and now he can kill someone and get away with it. So yeah, that's. So that probably instilled this in him as well. I'm getting away with things. Let's do more. So in Scotland, feeling hostility from the locals, Fred moved to Gloucester with the 2 children and lived in a rented caravan. So he was a Jippo then, wasn't he? Doing tarmacs and shit. Making a nuisance of
probably
themselves.
stealing lead from churches.
Yeah. Causing trouble in pubs in the town centre. But anyway, and marrying their sister, like Fred would. So let's have a look then. So, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say Hobbit's just adjusting his mic very quietly. So they went down there. Yeah. Okay, carry on.
Yeah. So Rena joined Fred in February 1966. And brought 2 other women with her. Anna McFall, who was living with them in Scotland at the 16-year-old.
So what was it then? Did McLachlan get bored because he didn't have Fred to beat? He was beating Fred part of the relationship with Rena as far as McLachlan was concerned?
In Glasgow, you're not short of anyone to fight, I'm sure. So he would have moved on to another target.
Moved in with another couple where he used to beat the husband. Yeah. Was that McLachlan's thing, do you think?
No, he was just a hard man. He liked to demonstrate his powers. So yeah, probably a bully. So, but anyway, so Fred was living in the caravan, and Rena joined him in February 1966. Brought 2 other women with her, Anna McFall and Isa McNeil, and they came to England to find work.
McNeil was the nanny, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was in Scotland. Yeah, so brought those 2 women with him. So. He was surrounded by women. So at this time, Fred was working as a lorry driver for an abattoir. So he was surrounded by death, slaughter, blood and guts. So just getting used to seeing these things, incest, killing a child. And now, this was his job, blood and guts all day from the animals, which he shagged as a child. Wouldn't it be funny if he shagged one of these animals and then ended up delivering them some years later? A cow or something.
Wouldn't be that funny because someone else would have to eat.
but they wouldn't know, would they? And what Fred's father said, what you don't know doesn't hurt you. So this was so he set himself up in Gloucester, caravan job, blah, blah, blah. So at this time, though, Fred was beginning to exhibit dominance over the 3 women, and was prone to violent mood swings, and this was often taken out on the women. So it was him, the 3 women, and the 2 children in the caravan. So it's pretty cramped conditions, pressurized. So Fred's going to get pissed off and give someone a hiding.
So how old was Charmaine by this point then?
She would have been 3 or 4. I think Charmaine was born in 62.
Charmaine's 63. So this is
63,
66, so
yeah.
she was 3.
Yeah, 3. So
This all happened in a really, really short space of time, then, didn't it? The first killing, running the boy over, moving up to Scotland, moving back down again.
that's how these people live, though. It's just about getting married, having kids, and you die before you're 40. So
yeah,
or 53 in this case. So anyway, that's what happened there. So also at this time, he started abusing his stepdaughter, being violent to her and sexually abusing as well. So and he also encouraged Rena, his wife, to go on the game, be a prosy, get a bit of extra cash in. So prostitution there as well. So these all these things are adding up. To escape Fred's violence and increasing sadistic sexual demands, Rena contacted McLaughlin.
Oh, he's still about.
His fist, talks with his fist. This guy.
Yeah.
So Rena contacted McLaughlin to take her and McNeil and the children back to Scotland because they couldn't live with Fred anymore. He was being violent. He was a shithole, and it was just better things. There's better things than that. So that's what they were after. At this stage, though, Anna McFall, the 16-year-old, was in love with Fred. And Fred promised to marry her.
Obviously, you'd see all that and you'd think, well, this is the man I want to spend the rest of my life with.
Yeah. that filthy bastard. Yeah, he's the man for me. So you went with.
Well, you know what they say about women being attracted to bad men. I mean, didn't Jeffrey Dahmer have a girlfriend?
No, he was gay. He was gay.
Yeah, but wasn't there like women like
Ted Bundy? You're thinking of Ted Bundy.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, women like jerks. By the way, women, I will be misogynistic to you and tell you to stay in the kitchen. I'm also single.
Hobbit's a jerk too, aren't you, jerk? Hobbit.
I'm a very nice jerk.
I'll tell you what, guys. Just talk amongst yourself. The Heineken's kicking in, so I'm just gonna. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
No problem. What do you think so far, then, Hobbit?
Well, I don't have much to say. I imagine, have we gotten to the bit yet where the house has been bulldozed and concreted over? Because
no, we're quite a way away from that. We're going to do Fred's. I assume we're going to do up until they get married, and then we're going to. Then we're going to talk a little bit about Rose, because her upbringing was equally as chaotic, and then we'll get onto the
way nobody wanted to buy the house for some reason. I mean.
It's quite the opposite. I would have thought 25 Cromwell Street probably would have fetched a pretty penny.
But I mean, I heard that it's like, nobody wants to buy this place, so we're just going to bulldoze it and concrete it over.
That's bullshit. It's quite the opposite. The problem is that many people would buy the place, and that's why they bulldozed it. Oh,
I see. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean. All I can say is, I want to go on a tangent, really. I just want to explain about the absolute fucking palaver I've had today. I've had to relocate everything.
Well, you back home now?
So this is why I. No, I'm abroad for the foreseeable future because things have happened. I hear rumblings that the French might close their borders, and
ooh,
yeah. Yeah, but well, there's just for other reasons I need to stay here for a bit, which is annoying because I keep seeing people showing pictures of the pub, and it's like, so everyone's going to the pub, and I'm stuck. I'm abroad. I was like, this is worse than World War One. Where there's like they're looking at Twitter, and it's like mates are in the spoons, and I'm here in the trench. At least you're with your mates in the trench. I just sort of, to be fair though, I mean, I've been encountering members of my family, and my cousins. They're actually, some of them aren't complete shitheads. They're actually all right. It's just I do miss speaking English and eating English things. But yeah, I've had to relocate my computer and stuff like that, and I've got very short Ethernet cables, and so I'm all just like stuck in this corner. It's not very comfortable. Oh, and my headphones aren't long enough, so I'm having to crouch over my computer like Gollum whilst I'm listening to Ian sort of talking about another delightful. Seeing as this show does talk about woo-woo, has Fred West ever had a paranormal encounter?
Oh yeah, we've got some of that. We got some of that, and it'll come later when we talk about the police interviews. There is some woo-woo involved.
I am back now. I'm back now.
Bullshit with. Right, where were we?
Well,
we were.
I can't remember, but
you're just in time.
I thought that would never end.
And McFall infatuated. We were somewhere around there.
Yeah, all right. So let's have a look then. Anne
McFall infatuated, and they were about to spring the escape plan, weren't they? I think is where we were.
Yeah. So, and this is a return of our favourite guy. So basically, what happened? Yeah. So Anna McFall was in love with Fred. She basically told Fred of the escape plan. It must have been her. So Fred wanted to stop the others leaving. And another altercation took place between McLaughlin and Fred.
Really?
And Fred got a good kick in again.
I was going to say, who won that one?
Fred was a mess after that one. So,
you got a good paste in then, did he?
Yeah, he did. That's what we like. Yeah. So the police became involved in this entanglement, and the two women escaped to Scotland. So they were away. The children stayed with Fred and Anna in the caravan. So,
the police really did their work on that one, then, did they? So, why are you leaving this man? Oh, because he keeps beating the shit out of me and the kids. Okay, what we'll do then is we'll leave the kids with Fred.
We'll leave the kids with Fred, and we'll go and dance on a gay pride march or something like that. Whatever the police do now. Call me old-fashioned, but yeah. But anyway, so that's what happened. And what happened then? Fred threatened to kill Rena if he ever saw her again because of the trouble she'd caused and because of the beatings he got from John. So that was that chapter. To ensure the children's well-being, Rena frequently travelled to England to visit. And on one visit, Rena stole some belongings from Fred's caravan and returned to Scotland. Don't know what she stole, but she stole some stuff. She was arrested the following month and returned to Gloucester to face trial and was put on probation for 3 years. So, yeah, I don't know what she nicked from the caravan, but surely Fred had nothing valuable. But she got on probation for that. So he probably had a stash of porn mags or something in there. Did away with that. Vintage porn, collector's edition.
His favourite jazz mags.
Yeah. So, so that's that stage. So Fred was left with Anna in the caravan and the two children. So let's move on to this, the murder of Anna. So July 1967, Anna McFall, aged 18 and 8 months, aged 18, was 8 months pregnant with Fred's child, and she vanished. Suddenly she disappeared. So 8 months up the duff, and she disappeared with her unborn child.
Loyalty to Fred repaid.
Yeah. Maybe she just decided to leave. Maybe she thought, oh, I've had this, I'll go, disappear. Either that or Fred killed her, which is more likely. So, she was never reported missing, but her dismembered remains were discovered on the edge of a field in June 1994, which is when they were digging at the bodies. They knew what Fred had done, and started digging.
Was there any hint that there was any suspicion of that Fred had murdered her, or was it just?
Well, not from those days. You know, people did go missing. It's and they still do, but it's just one of those things. You know, maybe she went somewhere, had enough. Maybe she died. Perhaps, who knows? But obviously, in this case, Fred killed her. So the following months after this, Rena returned to live with Fred, and the couple relocated to another. Yeah.
Why not?
Well, he's quite a catch, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He treats a girl well, doesn't he?
Knows what they like, so gives it to them. But this is really confusing. So Rena, who got John to give him a kick in, now she returned to live with Fred, and and they relocated to another caravan park. So they've gone up market, gone to a better caravan park
Nice.
with more upmarket pikeys there. So the relationship this time lasted a year, and once again, Rena left Fred. She left the children with him, and the children, because it was only Fred looking after them in a caravan, obviously the children were placed into care. So you can see the guy's a disaster, isn't he? This is how he lived his life.
Well, he's a proper catch, isn't he? You can see why all these women are throwing themselves at him, can't you?
Yeah, it's quite true. So yeah, so that was it for that stage of his life. So he was alone. The kids were in care, and then on the early December 1969, he first encountered Rosemary Letts, and that is Rose West, and this was his partner in crime. He met her shortly after her 15th birthday. So in typical style.
Would it be a good point to do Rose's childhood and then go into them as married?
Yeah, we can come on to that. You want to run through that? I can do it if you want. But
you can do it.
So here we go then. So, let's do it. Rose West. So born in Northam, Devon, to Bill Letts, who was a nasty piece of work.
He was a lovely fella.
Yeah,
absolutely. This is just full of really upstanding blokes. This story.
The story is filthy, isn't it? And we should be ashamed we're doing it, but let's do it. So, it's another Heineken there. So 25th of February 1921. That was when Bill Letts was born, and he died May 1979. So himself and his wife Daisy gave birth to Rosemary, the fifth of 7 children born into a poor family. So they weren't having much income, didn't have much luxuries. So a bit similar to Fred's background in a way, a rural setting, which what Devon was, and in the same way, Fred lived on a farm, similar sort of environment. So Rose's mother suffered from depression and was given ECT when pregnant. So do you know what ECT is?
Electroconvulsive therapy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They don't do it anymore, but they used to give it to mentals in the day, didn't they? If they were playing
where
up.
do they put it? Do they put it across your temples then? Do they put it across your temples and zap your brain?
I'm not sure, but all I do know is they put a rag in your mouth so you can bite on that while the therapy is coming. So it's not a pleasant treatment. This was going on when she was pregnant.
Hobbit, do you know anything about electroshock therapy?
Well, a few days ago, I had cramp in my foot, and I just thought to myself, "What am I lacking? Is it because the food I'm eating hasn't got salt in it?" It's like, you shouldn't have salt; it's unhealthy. It's like, yeah, now I have cramp, so thank you very much. If it's as painful as cramp on over your body, I can imagine that's why they give you something to bite down on.
Yes. And have you tried electroconvulsive treatment yourself?
No, but I've had electric shocks before, and they're not pleasant.
I think we all have, like when you put a battery on your tongue, that kind of thing.
Oh right, placement of electroshock therapy. Placement can be bilateral, where the electric current is passed from one side of the brain to the other, or unilateral, in which the current is solely passed across one hemisphere of the brain.
Sounds like the same thing.
Efficacy is kind of weird. It's like, for something that sounds completely woo-woo, it's so it says overall remission rate for patients given a round of ECT treatment was 50.9% for those with unipolar depression and 53.2% for those with bipolar depression.
That's easy for you to say.
What is it? There's little agreement on the follow-up for ECT. When ECT is followed by treatment with antidepressants, about 50% of people relapsed by about 12 months, with about 37% relapsing within the first 6 months. Okay, so it works in half of people, but it doesn't. Whatever it does doesn't stick. It works for a bit.
I'm sure it doesn't work. Those people probably just got better at the same time they had the treatment.
Yeah, probably just pretended.
I've seen footage of it.
Pretended they were better, so they didn't have another round.
Exactly.
I was going to say electroconvulsive therapy is a lot like, you ever seen those African witch doctors where they're hitting the patient and the patient's like, oh yeah, I'm good now, please stop hitting me.
Like when they used to put a hole in your skull to cure your headache.
Yeah. Now the thing is, I actually have more evidence to support trepanation is good. I mean, no, it's not good to have holes in your skull, but there are like some people where their brains what's brain edema called? There's like a special name for it, but apparently trepanation does help with that because the brain can just sort of swell out a bit.
Nice. Well, let's get back to Rose West, shall we? Because this is
yeah.
It could be like the if you were sick, the barber in the olden days would withdraw out blood, and they would think that's the sick bit, and that'll do. So, but
bloodletting.
But I went to the barber this week, and I said to the barber, "But I have a number 2," and he said, "No, toilets for customers only."
I bet.
But I did go to the. No, you see, number 2 is slang for shit, isn't it?
Oh right, I was just thinking, it's like, what, your hair's like a bog brush? No, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, back to Rose. Let's leave the barber shop alone. So, so she was having the ECT. Rose's mother was having the ECT while pregnant, and I've seen videos of the ECT being administered on patients, and they do really spasm. And if you're pregnant and that's happening, then surely it's not good for the child.
Must have been an absolutely top doctor that was doing. It's been a real ahead of top of his class doctor, wasn't he?
Yeah, knew what he was doing, but
yeah,
but he produced a monster, the modern day Frankenstein. But yeah, so anyway, that's what happened when Rose's mother was pregnant. So after this, Rose herself grew up into a moody and precocious teenager, prone to daydreaming and performing poorly at school. So she was a div kid, and also Fred as well. So two div kids we've got here, the remedial class.
Yeah.
Yes.
I suppose that puts line to the theory that it's only the smarties which turn into wrong uns.
Oh yeah, there's that one about like the serial killers being the high IQ ones, don't there?
Well, Dr. Shipman was a doctor, wasn't he? So obviously he must have had some brain to do that. But
midway.
Well, I suppose he was clever because it was a lot less work for him. He didn't have to hide the bodies, did he? He didn't have none of that digging in forests at night and that business, did he? He just left the body there, didn't he? It was someone else to sort out.
He never had to build a patio, did he? So.
There is an argument for Shipman working smarter, not harder.
Yep. It can be looked at like that. Yeah. So, or put into a support for a motorway. But that was the craze for doing things like that. So
because of all the pictures there are. It says Fred always wears a nice suit though, doesn't he? He is a fan of a nice 3-piece suit, isn't he, old Fred?
He does like his polyester blue.
Yeah.
It's either a sweater or a suit. So
yeah.
Oh, well, it's 25 Cromwell Terrace and End of Terrace.
Yes.
There's
that could be nice.
That bit of the building poking out on the right-hand side of the
fuck off
picture is
not you, Ian.
Yeah, sorry, that was the truth.
It was just a fly decided to land on my screen.
There is up right now. There's the exploded view of 25 Cromwell Terrace. So that's three stories in a basement.
And that's where Fred exploded many times.
Yeah.
That's
but yeah, it's a thin property, but it is 4 floors, and they did rent the top floor out, or maybe the second floor as well, because to get money to pay the mortgage. But anyway, let's go back to the story.
Yeah.
So Rose, back to Rose. So Rose's parents separated when she was a teenager. She lived with her mother and attended school for 6 months, later moving in with her father again. And he had been abusing her, and she moved back in with him. So, bit odd, isn't it? So she moved in with her father, and at the age of 16 in Bishop's Cleeve, near Cheltenham, Gloucester, with her. And her father, who suffered paranoid schizophrenia, was prone to extreme violence and repeatedly sexually assaulted her and also her other sister, Patricia. So, pedo there, isn't it? Bit like Morris off the Enfield case. He was a dirty bastard. I didn't like, look at him, look the way he's been acting there. But yeah, it's a recurring theme, isn't it? So, So, on numerous occasions, at the age of 13, she would creep into her 9-year-old brother's bed at nightfall and molest him. And also her youngest brother, Gordon. So, she was basically getting off with her brothers at this age, who were younger than her anyway. So, Rose sexually assaulted Graham when he was 12 years old. So, it's not right, is it?
She was like a chubby plain succubus, weren't she?
Well, when she was younger, she wasn't bad, apparently, and don't like to say that. But as she got older, she turned into a fat pig. And
it's all right to say that because she's an evil murdering slime.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, okay then. So let's go back to the meeting between Rose and Fred. So they met at a Cheltenham bus station, and Rose was initially repulsed by Fred's unkempt appearance, and she thought that he was a tramp. So not a good first impression for Fred there. After time, though, she became flattered by Fred's charm. So he had a bit of a gift of the gab about him, and as time went on, he sat next to her at the same bus stop, and they started getting on better. She initially refused to go on a date with him, but Fred quickly discovered that Rose had never had a boyfriend. Yeah, bullshit. And but he also did discover that she was overly promiscuous. So she wanted it, basically. So,
overly promiscuous. That's
I know that's
quite an addendum, that, isn't it?
Are you overly promiscuous? I used to be, not now. But anyway, let's see what we got. So that's what the sort of girl she was. And Fred was kind of winning. He didn't go out with him at that point, but he was probably making her laugh a bit and things like that. And so she was coming round to him. So after much persuasion, Rose gave in and agreed to go on a date with Fred. And from there, they embarked on a relationship. Rose became a frequent visitor to Fred's caravan and took a motherly role to his 2 children. So she was the female figure he needed at that time. Plus, she was up for it. So there was that added bonus.
Yeah, I kind of agree. She weren't bad looking when she was younger, was she, Rose? I'm just having a look at some pictures now.
Yeah, you don't like to say that, though, do you? But yeah, actually, do you?
No.
Yeah, put that picture up again.
Which one?
I'm just gonna. Yeah, the Rose one when she was younger.
Fred and Rose when they're on.
No, not that one.
If I can hold on, I can.
I think it's the black and white
settings
one.
And then put
settings, press reboot, and
just turn off the randomised playback.
Anyway, have a look at that one, and then anyway, after a few months of the relationship, Rose introduced Fred to her parents. So that was the pervert, Bill Letts, and they were horrified at their daughter's choice of partner, as anyone would be, isn't it? So
not Fred.
Yeah,
he was such a nice man.
I bet he was a good laugh, but he didn't look after himself. Yellow teeth, dirty, shit clothes, things like that.
Yeah.
Got to remember though, at this time, Rose was 15, so Fred was seeing a 15-year-old girl underage.
How old was Fred at that time? What year is this?
He was about 10 years older. I think he was 27, something like that.
Right. Okay.
So he liked them young. So anyway, yeah.
I suppose they were easier to control that way, weren't they?
But yeah, so because of this situation, her father disapproved. Social services got involved, because
Well, that's probably
Rose
not
was
the only
feeling-
reason his nose, the dad's nose was out of joint, but we'll find out about that later, won't we?
Exactly, yeah. But you know, seeing this older man, she was 15, underage. She went into care. But obviously, it didn't last long because at 16, you can come out of care. So, placed in a home for troubled teenagers. She was allowed to visit her parents whilst in this home on the weekend, and no doubt took a detour to Fred's filthy caravan and had it off with him as well.
Nice.
So, yeah, exactly.
Like a really grim Romeo and Juliet.
And it is very grim, isn't it? You know, so far what we've covered is it's not what we want to be involved in, and we're glad we're not him.
Filthy slag.
You muppet, you slag, you stay away from Phil Mitchell. Anyway,
Yeah.
So
You ain't my mother.
let's have a look. Look after your family. You stay away from my family. Anyway, so on her 16th birthday, Rose left home and returned to her parents. At 16, you can leave the the children's home because you're an adult then. So returned to her parents. Fred was in jail at this time, serving a 30-day sentence for unpaid fines. Upon his release, Rose left her parents and moved into the flat where Fred was living at the time in Cheltenham. Fred collected his 2 children from social services, and there they were, the family unit. Fred, Rose are the 2 children living in a flat. Rose was once again placed into care in February 1970 after she was found to be pregnant. So, if you're pregnant, obviously
What was the age of consent back then? She was 16, wasn't she?
Well, it would have been 16, but I think if you're pregnant and you're 16, there's a bit of a different approach to it. So she was discharged on the 6th of March 1970 on the promise that she would terminate her pregnancy and go back to her parents. She ignored both of these things and moved back in with Fred.
So they literally went, "You will terminate it, won't you?" "Oh yeah, I'll terminate it."
Oh yeah.
was that the conversation with the "Oh yeah, don't worry about it. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it tomorrow."
She was pissing herself when she walked out of that meeting. Yeah, right. I'm going to terminate.
Yeah. I'll do that. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, I've done one on you, haven't I? So, so that's what she did. So so that's where we are there. She's back in with Fred now, 16. He's 20 odd, whatever, having a bit of that. So basically, two months later, the children moved out of the caravan at last into a 2-story house in Midland Road, 25 Midland Road. And on
He like the number
October,
20. Was 25 his lucky number?
Exactly. It's interesting, isn't it? I think there's another 25. I haven't had much time on my hands this week. I meant to look into it, but I think there was another 25 involved. A lot of 25s here. It's their number. So anyway, moved in there. October 1970, Rose gave birth to their new child, Heather. So that's where we are.
There's speculation on the parentage of Heather Ann, though, isn't there?
Yes, I did read that. It's not been proved, but the way Rose's father carried on, he could have been the father of the child, which is
lovely.
Difficult to get your head around, really, isn't it? So the father impregnated the daughter, and then they had the child.
As Buyer Ray says in the chat, remember this story if you ever disagree with eugenics in theory.
Do you disagree with the eugenics?
Certainly not where this case is concerned.
Yeah, I know. The child could have had webbed feet or something like that.
Yeah. One eye, isn't it?
Oh, I'm on the cider now. It's like a warm. Ugh. Tesco own brand cider.
Snake biting your tummy.
Lovely.
It's 5%. It's nice when it's cold, but so it's a bit warm. But
no, that's the sort of stuff you want to drink with ice cubes. I know I've imbibed sufficient amounts of.
Doesn't warm cider get you drunk quicker?
No, it's just you want to drink it down so that you don't have to go, this is warm.
It's sort of moderate, lukewarm. Yeah, so anyway, Fred West. Let's go Fred West.
So then
I'm
2
looking at
months
the
later.
slideshow here on YouTube.
Let's go 2 months later.
So 2 months later, Fred was imprisoned for the theft of car tyres on a vehicle tax disc.
Correct. And
How the hell did
during
he
this
nick car
time,
tyres? Shouldn't that be car wheels?
No, he had like the specific machine for taking the tires off the wheels. He leaves them to have the wheels.
yeah, so that's where he was. Tax disc theft, and car tires. So a bit harsh, isn't it? That sentence.
Why didn't he just nick the car? I mean, he'd taken the tyres and the fucking he might as well have gone the whole hog, hadn't he? I mean, it would have been easier, wouldn't it?
Yeah, fucking idiot. Yeah. But anyway, let's look at this scenario. So he was 6.5 months in jail for tire theft and tax disc theft. So during this time, 17-year-old Rose was left to look after the 3 children. So she was 17, had 3 kids on her plate. What a mess.
Well, you wonder what was she doing for money as well?
She was on the game, I think, and probably on benefits as well. Well, she would have been on benefits and probably topping that up with her clients. So yeah, so during this time, with Rose was just in charge of the children. They were subjected to beatings and other forms of punishment from Rose. So
nice,
the statistic,
lovely.
yeah, the statistic streak is getting from what Rose was into. Couldn't control the children.
So continuity management then was while Fred was away.
Yeah, just give him a beating, that'll shut him up.
Yeah.
So, a resident on the upper floor flat in the Midland Road building where the West were living, she went into the West flat unannounced, and what she saw was Charmaine, the child, undressed, stood on a chair with her hands were bound by a belt, and she was gagged in the mouth. She also saw Rose stood alongside the child with a large wooden spoon in her hand, obviously dishing out a beating. And this is quite, looks like quite a serious abuse situation going on there. So, Rose took it to the extreme with her punishments.
Oh, have you seen this bit? Hospital records reveal Charmaine had received treatment for a severe puncture wound to her left ankle in the casualty unit of the Gloucester Royal Hospital on the 28th of March 1971. This incident was explained by Rose to have resulted from a household accident.
Yeah, and there were quite a few household accidents over the years that the West children went to hospital to have treated. So violence, abuse, incest, bestiality, it's all boiling up in this pretty disgusting pot that we don't want to look into. But,
yeah.
So anyway,
from the chat, they're saying that 2 Fingers In is a lovely cider. That's from Keeping It Vril.
Ooh, okay.
2 Fingers In. I've not heard of that one.
You're not familiar with the 2 Fingers In brand of drinks?
No, I've never tried. I've never tried 2 Fingers In.
No.
I'm on the Tesco apple cider, which I think would be all right if it was chilled, but I haven't left it in the fridge long enough.
You've got to watch out for the 3 Fingers In. That's when you know things are getting a bit too strong. Oh dear, I'll see myself.
Oh, I think I'm sure there's some 4 Fingers In when we get into this story.
Or if you use the forefinger and the little finger, and you can carry out the stinger using that. So anyway, let's have a look then. Murder of Charmaine, the child. So Rose is believed to have killed Charmaine shortly before Fred's release from prison on the 24th of June 1971. Is there a dog in the building? She took Charmaine.
My dog on mute for.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, so she took Charmaine, Anna-Marie, and Heather to their first visit to Fred in prison on the 15th of June. Forensic evidence confirmed that Charmaine was killed while Fred was still in jail. So Rose denies the ever being involved in this, but obviously that's one she can't get out of. Fred didn't kill the child, so someone must have, and that person must have been Rose. Charmaine's body was stored in the coal cellar of Midland Road until Fred was released, and then Fred buried Charmaine in the backyard.
But there's more than one like this that Fred could have. There's more than one that Fred couldn't have done, isn't there?
I'm not sure. This is the main one out of the 12 confirmed cases. This is the only one that that Fred couldn't have done. So he probably didn't do others, but he's dead. Rose won't talk, so we're never going to know. So that's the situation we're in. So that's their first proper kill. Obviously, Fred ran over the child in his ice cream van, but that was an accident. This was death. So proper murder.
It goes to show that these two were a pretty toxic mix, weren't they?
And and as we looked at their backgrounds, very similar backgrounds of abuse, open sexuality, bestiality in Fred's case, pretty messed up people. So that's where we are. Charmaine is now dead. Let's look at the murder of Rena West. So his first wife. This is the one he killed. So Rena continued to stay in touch with Fred so that she could see the children. In August 1970, Rena visited Fred, likely to discuss custody of her daughters. And it's believed that Fred strangled Rena at this time. When Rena's body was discovered some years later, it had been extensively dismembered and placed in plastic bags and buried in a place called Letterbox Field, which is near Fred's childhood home.
Are we going to talk about Fred's peculiarity later? Because there was something that Fred liked to do to the bodies, wasn't there? We've already said about that with Charmaine's body, haven't we? It's kneecaps, finger, wrist, toe, and ankle bones are missing.
And I will give my joke a second out in this time. So yeah, he did like to take mementos from the body, like fingers, toes. He liked to take those bits, and kneecaps as well. So from this, we know that Fred supported Black Lives Matter because he took the knee.
Oh, God.
I used that one before. I'm surprised you. So I thought it was worth
dealing with a noisy dog at that point.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
He also took the bladder out of the victims. The guy was taking the piss.
Yeah. You know the difference between Fred West and John West, don't you, Ian?
You told me earlier, but I've forgotten.
John West takes the bones out.
Yeah, so he does. And Fred didn't. He left the bones where they were. Yeah, so that's what happened to Rose West. So let's move on then to
Rena West. You just said that's what happened to Rose West.
So yeah, whatever. This Tesco cider is doing it.
Is it a good?
And it's not bad. As I said, it's a bit warm. I wish they left it in the fridge a bit longer, and it would be quite nice. But anyway, okay. So after this, he killed his wife. She's gone and buried. And so now he was free to marry Rose. So 29th of January,
in his mind, technically it's bigamy, isn't it?
I think bigamy is the last of his worries. We can show that in the pot, though. Bestiality, incest, whatever else they were doing. And also bigamy as well.
Definition of bigamy is just a bloke who makes the same mistake twice, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is, yes. But bigamy, the guy should be ashamed of himself.
Yeah.
But, God, has he got no morals?
Yeah.
So, anyway, 29th of January 1972, Fred and Rose got married. So this was
lovely, wonderful.
Yep. Several months later, Rose was pregnant again with her second child. The couple moved from Midland Road, number 25, to number 25 Cromwell Street.
Oh, about the marriage. Fred incorrectly described himself as a bachelor on the marriage certificate.
That's that's one of those lesser crimes, though, isn't it? In the scale
just
of
a
things.
wrong and all round, isn't he? It doesn't matter.
Fred, you said you were a bachelor. What if
it's not a role, it's an obstacle.
Yeah. That was his approach to life.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, but anyway, several months after their marriage, Rose was pregnant again with their second child, and so they moved to Cromwell Street, the famous address, the one we all know, which is no longer there. And Fred purchased the property from the council for £7,000.
Nice.
So, if he was alive today, imagine the capital gain on that.
Yeah.
He'd be rolling in it. So, to help pay the mortgage, many of the upper floor rooms in the 3-bedroom property were converted into bedsits. So they were renting it out to students, dossers, those kind of people. 1st of June, Rose gave birth to May West.
In June, she gave birth to May.
That's right. She was born. I think she was born on the 1st of. It was like June, May, like that. She was sort of born on the 31st of May, 1st of June. That's why they give her that name. So, shortly after giving birth, Rose went on the game, entertaining customers in an upstairs room and advertising her services in cock mags. Fred encouraged Rose to do this, and Rose also had casual sex, both male and female, with lodgers in the house, and also with Fred's workmates.
Well, this is all very equal opportunities, isn't it? The service in the West Indian community, women, animals. It's current year politics. Old Fred was going in for, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, basically, she was up for it, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Rose stated no man or woman could completely satisfy her, so she was hard work. Fred couldn't satisfy. Fred wasn't very good at satisfying women, and
the definition of nymphomania is just the woman is insatiable, and the people in the chat were mentioning about Fred pimping her out, and that he had a camera installed into the ceiling to record it all.
That's right. We can look at that shortly, but first. The cider has caught up with me. I'll be back.
I'll do some chat then. Son of Butcher Lane says that feeling when no girlfriend yet Fred West could get one. He got more than one, mate. He had a whole entourage of them.
Well, it just goes to show if you want a girlfriend, become a serial killer, and then they'll fuck you like flies.
Be a nice guy like Fred.
Yeah, just got to be a nice guy. Wear a polyester 3-piece suit, and you'll be fine.
Based. Look like you've been touched by the brush.
Oh, excuse me. It's been one of those days.
I was just muted because I was opening the can. Yeah, we haven't even got to the fun stuff yet, I bet.
No. Sorry, I'm a bit out of sorts. It's been a rough few days.
Discombobulated, I bet.
Oh, I'm really out of sorts at the moment. I'm still fucked off about the internet, but at least I've got it. And I'm touching wood as we speak. But I think I've figured out the problem with my computer. It's just still.
By a ray, why does Fred West keep reminding me of Dave Lister? I don't think he means that, Dave.
He does look a bit like him, doesn't he? Is Craig Charles the son of Fred West?
Ooh.
Yeah, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. With Red Dwarf and Dave Lister, I always just thought he was a dirty space tramp, but then
that's what you know. Craig the channel Charles Dave, that's named after Dave Lister.
I did wonder about that.
Yeah, it
but
is.
I mean, the thing is I because I was watching Robot Wars or Coronation Street, and I saw Craig Charles, and I was like, wait, he's not dirty, he's just brown. I was very disappointed.
We're not going to get demonetized again, are we?
No, we're always demonetized. Right, so were we halfway through the prostitution? I think, weren't we?
I don't know. She was on the game, and that's what she was doing. Where were we anyway? I can't remember. She went on the game to get some extra cash.
Yeah, it says this thing I'm reading here said When engaging with sexual relations with women, Rose would gradually increase the level of brutality to which she subjected her partner, with acts such as partially suffocating her partner and inserting increasingly large dildos into the partner's body. If the woman resisted or expressed any pain or fear, this would greatly excite Rose, who would typically ask, "Aren't you woman enough to take it?"
I wonder if they ever use a double-ended dildo.
Oof.
Really?
Oh, I hope they were sanitising them after they'd fit. Oh, I bet they never even cleaned them, did they?
I doubt it. No, in these people.
Yeah.
So she liked men and women.
I do kind of wonder with the Fred and Rose West thing whether it was a bit like the Brady Hindley thing, where the woman was actually the one that was driving it, because the more we read about the Hindley Brady thing, Hindley was definitely in charge of that relationship, wasn't she?
I don't know. I think Rose was in charge of this relationship, but I think for what I know of the Moors murder case, Brady was probably always in charge. I would think. Obviously, having the woman with the man can help the victim.
Well, I was of the same opinion until we went through the case, and it appears that Brady was very much I think he introduced her to the murder, but then after that, she was in charge of it. It definitely seemed that way. Because she cut off contact from him in prison, not the other way around. She wasn't infatuated with him at all. It was quite strange, actually.
I think in out of prison, yes, but in prison she had a different agenda. She was probably looking after herself and was hoping for some kind of release at some point. She never got it, but when they had the relationship out of prison, when they were killing people, I think I thought Brady was more in charge. Really, she was willing to take part in certain things, but I don't think she actually killed anyone. Brady did that. She would get involved in the abuse, but anyway, she's dead now. Anyway, so that's good.
Hobbit's just dropped his mic.
I'm sorry, I was just like, if I put it there, then it'll be good because I'm having to hold it all the time, and it's supposed to be a lapel mic, but if I put it on my lapel like so, then it sounds all muffled. So it really needs to be here, doesn't it?
Yeah, that sounds better.
I know.
That's clear.
Fucking piss day. I tell you what, this Microphones for Racist charity needs to step up their game, and I mean, there's still
emergency one sending, doesn't he?
Yeah, there's still hobbits and others co-hosts who just sound all muffled and it's rubbish, and
I'm cutting off all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and even when they interject, it's nothing to do with the show or anything. It's just useless. Just
bullshit. Yeah.
I know. I wouldn't stand for it, so I'm sat down.
Well, get rid of them, innit? Don't give them the chance. But anyway, okay, now let's go back to Fred West. Let's go. So Rose was into a bit of both. Yeah, she liked men and women. She liked to bat for both sides.
Yeah.
She played for Manchester United and Manchester City.
That was what kind of woman she was.
Yeah.
What? You're telling me she both batted and fielded?
She was a pitcher and catcher, as the Yanks would say.
She was playing for both Leicester and Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Dirty scrub.
She was playing for Everton and Liverpool. She liked EastEnders and Coronation Street. But let's get on with this.
Just being greedy.
Yeah, well, get what you can, isn't it? That's what this is all about. It's a tale of selfishness. So anyway, let's look at this then. So Rose would dyke it up with these women, and Fred would regularly take part in threesomes with his wife and her lovers.
Dirty
and
bugger.
I know you can't blame him, can you? Get a bit of a three-way action. So they took particular pleasure in taking these women to their sexual limits, often involving bondage. Yeah, so like to push them, a bit of suffocation.
Yeah.
The sort of thing that killed Michael Hutchins, wanking. You know that one?
Wanking from the door. And what's his name off of Kung Fu? He did that as well, didn't he?
I'm not sure of the Kung Fu one, but Michael Hutchins is the most well-known.
David Carradine. David Carradine did the same thing.
A death wanker.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, back on with this. The West openly admitted taking pleasure from any form of sex involving dominance, pain, and violence. To cater for their fetishes, they amassed a large collection of bondage and restraining devices, magazines, and photographs depicting bestiality, like Fred used to do, and graphic child abuse, like they both were. Yeah, that's
probably
what
homemade, I should imagine.
wouldn't surprise me. That you can get anything online these days, though. Anyway, so the room that Rose used to entertain her clients had several peepholes that Fred would watch Rose with her clients whilst
Someone
pleasuring
in chat
himself.
said as well there was a camera artexed into the ceiling as well or something.
More than likely, but Fred would stand there pleasuring himself whilst watching. That was one of his things. He was a voyeur, a voyeur. So yeah. So that's this is where they're at now. It's just escalating, isn't it? This whole thing. By 1977, Rose's father, Bill, by this time had come tolerant of Fred, and they opened a cafe together, which was soon insolvent.
Which was called the Green Lantern.
The Green Lantern, yeah.
Don't know if it was named after the Ryan Reynolds movie. I don't know, but
or the one with Bruce Lee. So.
Oh yeah, that's the Green Hornet.
Was it? Not up on my superheroes.
Oh, right, okay.
But yeah, no, I've got a girlfriend, so I don't go into that. Yeah. all computer games. So yeah. So anyway, so that's what happened with their business. When Bill found out that Rose was on the game, he then would have sex with her, his own daughter.
Oh, so, Jesus!
Yeah, exactly.
Did he get a family discount? That's the question.
Oh.
Well, he could have made a deposit to her.
Oh.
That's the best I can come up with. I'll try and think of something else, but
yeah, I think that's probably the
worst
joke I could make.
Is it the worst joke? All right, we'll think of something better as time goes on.
Yeah.
But 1983, Rose had given birth to 8 children, at least 3 of which was conceived by her clients on the game. So there we go. So messed up family, big family, loads of kids, whatever. When the children reached the age of 7, they were assigned a number of daily chores to perform in the house. They weren't allowed to socialize.
I've got an addendum to the
what?
I got an addendum to the gave birth to 8 children. So Fred willingly accepted these as his own, falsely informed them the reason their skin was darker than that of their siblings was because his great grandmother was black.
Are you telling me that Fred West is doing a Sargon of Akkad?
Yeah, he was done. He did a lie to those poor little children. What a bad man.
What does a Sargon of Akkad? Does a Sargon of Akkad say he's got a black grandmother or something there?
He does.
He claims his quadroon.
Imagine if Mark Collette had one. He'd kill himself, wouldn't he?
By Ray's done the joke in Fred West of Akkad.
Oh dear.
Only in this show would you get a joke like that.
There's some good jokes going on.
Yeah,
good stuff in there. Anyway, okay, then let's try and push forward. We haven't even covered the murders yet. So anyway, let's have a look then what we got. So they was so basically they were given work to do at the house. They weren't allowed to socialize with friends, and any sort of failure to comply to these rules resulted in physical violence by Fred or Rose. The violent punishments were usually carried out by Rose, occasionally by Fred. Between 1972 and 1992, the West children were admitted to A&E department of local hospitals 31 times, and all the injuries were explained by accidents in the house. Never was this reported to social services.
It's just like falling down the stairs.
Yes.
That's a reference going back to one which Hemi, I'm surprised, hasn't picked up on.
What's that?
It's just like falling down the stairs.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I fell down the stairs, and halfway down my trousers fell out, and my daughter was bending down at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah, it was an accident, Your Honour.
Fell backward on a cucumber, as I was changing a light bulb. So yeah. Okay then. So even Fred now, at this point, Rose was getting more dominant in the relationship, and Fred became a recipient of Rose's violence, and on one occasion chased him with a carving knife. So she was even more psycho than he was. So they were made for each other, the couple. September 1972, the West had led 8-year-old Anne-Marie into the cellar.
There's an incident from 74 on here.
Yeah.
So on one occasion in August 1974, Rose chased after Fred with a carving knife in her hand. Fred was able to slam the door shut of the room into which he'd run as Rose lunged at him with a knife, resulting in the knife embedding itself in the door and 3 of Rose's fingers sliding down the blade, almost severing them from her hand. In response, Rose calmly wrapped her hand in a towel and said, look what you've done. Look what you've done, fella. You've got to take me to the hospital now." Jesus Christ, there's something wrong with those people, isn't there?
We've always known that, but we're going to look into and see more of their messed up shit that they get up to. But anyway, as going on to that one, though, 72, so 8-year-old Anne-Marie, their daughter, led into the cellar, and she was ordered to undress. She was then bound to a mattress and gagged, and then was raped by Fred, and this was being egged on by Rose. After the rape, Rose explained that this was normal to the daughter, and it was a father's job to do this. So this has got... but
the thing is, Rose probably actually thought that was, considering her upbringing.
Fred definitely did, and his mother did that to him. So all these things are sort of tying in. So the daughter was threatened with violence should she say anything about what had happened. So a messed up affair. So let's move on. Carolyn Owens was one of their first, not victims, but they tried. She's quite well known. She's dead now, actually, but if you watch a Cromwell Street documentary, she will often crop up. So 1972, the West hired 17-year-old Carolyn Owens as their children's nanny. She moved into 25 Cromwell Street, sharing a room with Anne-Marie, who she said was very withdrawn, obviously because of the abuse that she was going through continually. She started to notice strange things going on in the house, a steady stream of men, Rose's clients. Rose explained this by saying that she was a masseuse, and these were her friends, her clients for that. Obviously, she was on the game and she was giving them one. So Fred told her that he was a skilled abortionist and was available if Caroline ever needed such a service. He had said this, he'd done this for other women, and they were delighted with the service and would offer him sexual services as a reward. Obviously, buttering Caroline up, wasn't he? He was going to try and get off with it.
A ride for a ride.
Yeah, exactly. So taken for a ride. So like Prince Harry, he's been taken for a ride, isn't he?
Oh, blimey! You've seen his latest hostage video?
Oh, Christ almighty!
I'm fed every day. My captors are treating me well.
I will say what I'm told.
Yeah.
But anyway, so all right. So anyway, eventually Fred tried it on with Caroline. He had to. So and at that point, she left Cromwell Street and returned home. Knowing Owens had a habit of hitchhiking on the A40 between Cinderford and Tewkesbury, the West planned to abduct her and rape her. So obviously, she shouldn't have got in the car with her, but she did. 6th of December 1972, the West lured Owens into the car. God, she must have been stupid. And Rose sat on the back seat with Caroline and started to feel her up, having a good feel, all over tits and all that. Yeah. So Caroline protested. Fred stopped the car, called her a bitch, and punched her unconscious. So then they tied her up and brought her back to 25 Cromwell Street.
Jesus fucking Christ, how did these people get away with this shit? It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Well, it was the 70s, anything goes. In a subsequent police statement, Owens stated that at Cromwell Street she was given a dry cup of tea to drink. Again, she was gagged and subjected to prolonged sexual assault from Fred and Rose. At one stage, Fred remarked that Owen's clitoris was unusual. He then lashed at her genitals with a leather belt. When Owen screamed, Rose again smothered her with a pillow, further restrained her about the neck, and performed cunnilingus on her. Quickly realizing the gravitation of the situation, Owens ceased resisting their sexual assaults. That is what went on there. So they had this woman in their power, and they were doing whatever they liked to her. Pretty vile, eh?
Yeah.
The following morning, having noticed Owen screamed, where one of the children had knocked on the door of the room in which she was being restrained. Fred threatened that he and his wife would keep her locked up in the cellar.
It's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, isn't it? Like locked up with this like horrible family.
Exactly.
Being
with
tortured.
Leatherface.
Yeah.
So Fred said he would allow his black friends to abuse her, and that when they had finished, he would bury the body beneath the paving stones of Gloucester. So that was what was to come, wasn't it? Fred then claimed he had killed hundreds of young girls, adding that Owens had primarily been brought to the house for Rose's pleasure. He and Rose then calmly asked Owens whether she would consider returning to work as their nanny. Seeing her escape avenue, Owens agreed and vacuumed the house to indicate her belief that she was becoming an extended member of the family. Later that day, Owens escaped from a laundrette she and Rose had entered and returned home. Although initially too ashamed to divulge the information to her mother as to what happened, her mother noted that the bruises on her body and exposed tissues on her daughter's body, burst into tears and confided in what had happened. So that was their first victim, and she got away. She had told everyone what had gone on.
That's
so
amazing.
It is. It's quite an ordeal, and she got away. So so anyway, Owen's mother immediately reported the daughter's ordeal to the police, and the Wests were arrested and charged with assault, indecent assault, actual body harm, and rape. The case was tried at Gloucester's Magistrate Court on the January 1973, but by this date, Owens had decided she could not face the ordeal of testifying in court. All charges perpetrated to her sexual abuse were dropped, and the rest agreed to plead guilty to the reduced charges of indecent assault and causing actual body harm. Each was fined £50, and the couple were allowed to walk
British
free
justice,
from court.
Justice in action.
There we go.
Good old British
got away
justice.
with it again.
Yeah.
So they got away with it. So again, Fred was getting away. He got away with a lot over the years, and this was just more.
I mean, ironically enough, the only thing he didn't get away with was stealing tyres and a tax disc. He did more time for stealing tyres and a tax disc than he did for anything else he did, didn't he?
Yep. Shagging his sister, shagging a pig, almost killing this woman. It was. But clearly, by this stage, they were in it together. 3 months after the West assault trial, the couple committed their first known murder. The victim was 19-year-old Linda Goff, by whom Fred and Rose had become acquainted with through a male lodger in early 1973. Goff regularly visited Cromwell Street and engaged in affairs with 2 male lodgers. So she was having a threes up, spit roast, whatever you want to call it. That was what was going on there. April the 19th.
Wasn't there as well something about he used to make taped masks for people, didn't he, or something?
Yeah, it's a duct tape. It's sort of a bondage thing, isn't it? It's a bondage mask, so basically improvising that kind of mask. I've actually seen a bondage mask with a dildo attached, like a unicorn's horn.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, I've actually seen that online. I was looking. I wasn't looking for it.
All right, we believe you, Ian. It was definitely online. I was
looking for unicorns online, and that turned up. So the unicorn. So you can sit on the head and have that in you if you want, if that's your thing.
By Ray wants to know: is there such a thing as a decent assault?
A decent
No,
assault.
Well, I think it's like if you do a clean up cut to someone's jaw and knock them out the first go, but they'll never compliment you to say, "Oh, that was a really clean assault there, very well connected."
Decent.
But I mean, I want to say that what Ian's saying about the bondage available is like, but the problem is it doesn't even faze me because have you ever seen it? It's like pictures from Pride parades, and there's one of Dildo Man. He walks around in bondage gear and he's got all these dildos stuck to him.
Yes, I've seen that picture.
Yeah. They're just like you and I.
I've not seen that
like
picture.
David Nielsen. Oh, you're not missing much.
Is it like a hedgehog?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is,
like a hedgehog. like the kind of hedgehog you wouldn't want to find in your garden.
Anyway, all right then. Okay, so where are we? So so they've Linda Goth. Okay, she's moved into the house, and okay, she was putting around with the other guys in the house, and then she disappeared. So obviously, there's been some Fred and Rose had had their way with her and disposed of the body. When Goff's dismembered body was found, the jaw was completely wrapped in adhesive tape and surgical tape to silence her screams. So there we are. It was like the tape mask.
Yeah.
And two small tubes had been inserted into the nasal cavities to allow breathing. So again, we're getting into Michael Hutchins territory here, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, long sections of string and sections of knotted fabric were also discovered with her remains. So she'd been tied up, and it says Goth had likely been suspended from holes carved into the wooden beams supporting the ceiling of the cellar. And Fred later admitted that he devised this for the purpose of suspending victims' bodies. A bit like the butcher's hook. Butcher's Hook in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Very industrious fellow, wasn't he?
He was.
Frederick.
He was a workaholic. So that's what we had there. That was that murder. Later investigations, police and forensic experts concluded that victims found in the cellar at 25 Conwell Street had been murdered in this location, and that, like Goth, each had been dismembered in this location. Five victims were murdered.
Kneecaps and weird bones missing. They never found the kneecaps and stuff, did they?
He took the knee, so I respect him for that and his belief.
Wow, even back then he was progressive and understood the plight of people like George Floyd. So wow, Fred Rest supports Black Lives Matter.
Well, his wife did anyway, so as you can see from some of their children.
Yeah.
So anyway. 5 victims were murdered and buried in the cellar at Cromwell Street between November 1973 and April 1975. The first of these victims, 15-year-old Carol Ann Cooper, was abducted on 10th of November. Carol lived near the Pines Children's Home in Worcestershire and was abducted after spending the evening at the cinema with her boyfriend. She had been waiting for a bus, and then she had vanished. It was likely she was dragged into Fred's car, where her face was bound with surgical tape and her arms bound with braiding cloth before she was driven to Cromwell Street at the West's address. Cooper was suspended from the wooden beams of the cellar before her abuse and murder. So there we are.
It does make you wonder who joined in the abuse. I mean, was it literally just Fred and Rose, or were there other people that were in this little? Was there a little clique?
Well, Fred's brother did kill himself, and he was one of his brothers was also into this. But before anything was dug up, before he could be investigated, he killed himself. So obviously he had been up to something as well. Yeah. So that's what we have. Yes. So let's move on. Over the following 17 months, 4 further victims aged between 15 and 21 suffered a similar fate that endured by Goff and Cooper. Although the disarticulated
I've got the full list from the Sun. So
Yeah.
December 1973, Lucy Partington. She was a 20-year-old medieval English student at XTC University. She left a friend's house in a rush to get the last bus from Cheltenham to Gretton on 27th of December. With it believed she was abducted from the bus stop. She was found more than 20 years later, a dismembered body. We've got Therese Siegenthaler, a 21-year-old Swiss sociology student. She planned to hitchhike to Ireland in Easter 1974.
Shit, those of others.
Prosecution believes she was abducted before being killed, with Fred West later building a fake chimney over her grave.
He did. He built. He extended his house. And that was for the purpose of putting bodies underneath the extension.
So then you've got Shirley Hubbard, who was 15. Tell me when you're gonna. Who's the one you're gonna pick up with?
That was no. Carry on with it. Let's just run because we are running out of time.
Yeah,
aren't we?
yeah.
Let's just run through the.
Shirley Hubbard was 15. Juanita Mott. Summer of 1974, she moved into Cromwell Street, but later went missing when she was living in Newent. Shirley Robinson, the first victim buried outside the house. Robinson had an affair with Fred West, and by autumn 1977, she was pregnant with West's child. Do you think it's kind of weird that none of the women he had an affair with were buried inside the house? Inside the grounds? Because she was the first victim buried outside the house. Do you think that was kind of Rose's insistence or something like that?
It could have been, never confirmed though.
Yeah, I can't confirm it, but it just seems strange, doesn't it?
Yes, there could be something in it, but as he's dead, we'll never know. So
Alison Chambers, the last murder with a sexual motive established. She appeared just before her 17th disappeared just before her 17th birthday, having been seen at 25 Cromwell Street throughout the summer. So then we go on to Heather West. This is the beginning of the end, isn't it, for the Wests?
Yeah, that was their
Heather's
daughter.
disappearance? Was that the one?
Yeah. So with that one, because Heather was a bit rebellious and a bit mouthy. They were scared that other people would. She might, say what's happening in the house. She might say this to other people, so they had to deal with her, which they did, and buried her under the patio, and that's where the family joke comes from. If you don't behave yourself, you'll end up like Heather under the patio.
Because if I remember the news stories at the time correctly, it started with a missing child, didn't it? So that must have been Heather West then, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, they said there was one one detective they knew there was something wrong with the case, and they wanted to know where Heather was, and Fred was saying she's, moved away. She's
moved to Wales with a lesbian partner.
She was working for a drug cartel. Anything really. And they were really following this up. And when the children were in care, one of the times they were sort of saying to each other, if you don't do that, whatever, you'll end up like Heather.
Patio.
This was overheard, and social services read something into this. There was something odd going on here, and it's a pretty macabre thing for children to joke about. And it was followed up from there, basically. The one detective in the who was obsessed with the case, really, and rightly so in the end. The rest of the police weren't interested in following this up, but she really pushed for it to dig up the patio of 25 Cromwell Street, and then that's when the evidence started to appear as to what happened, and Fred had some explaining to do after that. So it's all there, yeah.
Some people say that Fred was a devil worshipper. I did find a blog post on it. I don't know. Say
No, that's very anti-Semitic. We won't have any of those sorts of allegations on this show.
Where's this?
It does kind of fit in devil worship, extreme sex. So
yeah, the knee and the bones thing is definitely weird.
Well, it's not. It's common for serial killers to keep something of their victims. So a
Right,
bone, a
so
finger.
there's a renowned Irish author called Jim Cairns, and he says all the West victims had a finger or toe bones missing. A common trait in occult killings known as the magic hand. He also revealed the drinking counter the couple had built in the infamous House of Horror home was named the Black Magic Bar. Yeah, the murders reek of human sacrifice with powerful connections. Because it's weird that they were allowed to go on so long with it, isn't it? Because they must have, the local police must have known must have had some idea what was going on inside that house, mustn't they?
What? So you think they had friends in high places?
Yeah.
Or
a bit too thick to be the sort that would.
the social services as well. They should have really picked up on this. There was, especially with the hospital visits, 31 hospital visits from the same family having domestic accidents.
If a more recent thing of Baby P's murder was anything to go by, social services, they might be aware of it, but they don't do anything to stop it.
So what else have we got here? So it says here, so this guy also believes that Fred West committed suicide in 1995 after being threatened by high-ranking members of the government who feared exposure. His brother, who was himself suspected of being involved in the murders, also later killed himself. It's alleged that Fred told one of the journalists that he was covering for others.
It's a bit like the Epstein case, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it just. I think the police must have known it was a. Maybe police officers were going to the.
Well, that's one of the things Fred would say is that I can tell you police officers have been visiting my wife, so he knew, but it never came to anything because he killed himself eventually. Could never give names.
Yeah, exactly. And Rose isn't talking either, is she?
No, maybe Cressida Dick visited Rose on a couple of occasions.
Oh, she'd have been the right age.
For some woman-on-woman action.
So to counteract what I've just said, there's a Dr. Peter Maxwell Stewart, who's an academic at St Andrews University in Scotland, specialist historian in the study of medieval witchcraft. So he says the idea of the magic hand was grounded in 16th century witchcraft history. Most of the talk about modern witchcraft in the occult is a load of twaddle. He said, I think it unlikely that Fred Mess was a member of Coven because he doesn't fit the bill of the modern Coven member who are usually environmentalists. I don't know, he did do a fair bit of recycling though, didn't he? The magic hand does have some foundation in witchcraft history. However, it dates back to the 16th century, but it refers to the cutting off of an entire hand, not just fingers and toes.
To me, this sounds like damage control. Like, oh, he's definitely not one of us. Please stop scrutinizing us. Please just, we're nice, normal people. We care about the earth. We're really hippies.
Yeah. Well, it also says he does also say, but there are also reports of witches grinding down the fingers or toes of sacrifices to make powder for the use of their spells or potions.
Isn't that basically Chinese medicine? Grinding up bones of children for boners and baldness.
Yeah, exactly.
And grinding up rhino horns as well is a aphrodisiac. So.
Oh yeah, the rarer it is, the more of an aphrodisiac it is. It's like, oh yeah, let's snort this like injured dodo. That'll get me hard. That's just a fetish of the Chinese.
And it does.
Yeah, it does.
It works.
Oh, so here we go. There's a Professor Michael Brooks that thinks that Rose was the driving force in the West murders.
Over time, she did become that. Initially, no, Fred was the one who was into it or introduced her into it. And as time went on, she became more the dominant force.
Yeah. That wasn't an article, that was a video. Right then, so what else have we got in it? What else have I found in it? I found another blog talking about the ritualistic murder of these. Yeah, because it's like because he seems to have taken these girls to the edge of terror before he killed them as well, didn't he?
What, to maximise the adrenochrome he could harvest?
That's what got him going, yeah. Or the edge of suffocation.
This just recycles the same report from that other guy. After her arrest, the police suggested to Rosemary West that she become fascinated by Linda Goff's interest in black magic and Satanism, which led them to torture and humiliate the victims as part of a ritual in which other people who shared their views participated. It's quite possible, because I think a couple of speds living in a house together wouldn't have got away with this for as long as they did.
We've seen, though, how the police do conduct investigations and how incompetent they can be, as with the Sutcliffe case. So I just think it's one of those things that police weren't interested in. Social services, useless anyway. So they were able to do it.
Yeah, there is a kind of it's cock up or conspiracy theory, isn't it?
But the children, they were going to hospital. They were seen with bruises on them. Unless someone reports this, then it's not going to get followed up. They were too scared to say anything, so it just went on like that for years.
I do have while we're on the woo-woo theme, I do have a couple of bits of. So this is Fred talking about Rena's spirit. Right, it's not fucking work.
Rena come fucking straight into me, man.
Yeah.
That was something else. This feeling of bodies coming out of the ground, and I didn't know I had that. But with Rena, I tried to hold it until I could get back to the cells. But halfway back, I just had to let go. I got such an experience when Rena came up into me at that field. That was something else. I never gone through anything like that in my life. And she had this smile on her face, and Anne was in my mind there with her, mixed up with her. And as Rena went away, Anne sort of stayed there. And for the life of me, I couldn't think who the heck Anne was. I said, I've got the name Anne in my mind all the time. The clue it is. Because And then, of course, that night it all came back to me. I went and sat on the step, lit the fag, and I felt terrible. Yeah, really felt ill. And I went to put my hand in my hand like that, and suddenly Anne came in between it, and I more or less pushed her into my head, and I knew it was, straight away. So I got in touch with everybody to get everybody there, because I found her.
I've also got one more clip where he's talking about spirits again. Because a couple of times he spoke about this.
Hello. Hi there. I'm still here, aren't I? Yeah, of course I am.
I'm here.
As am I.
What's that, Hobbit?
I took 5 because...
Emmy was saying something, but I completely spazzed out.
I'm playing music. Can you not hear the bits I'm playing?
The last one was very faint, which is this one, when the ghosts are coming up into him.
That's when the spirits are going up into him, and there's the one flying around the room.
No, I can't hear that too clearly.
I'll have to listen to the podcast to hear this.
No, I'm not getting anything from that.
Do you hear it now?
No, sorry, mate.
No, it's not working. But anyway,
back on the podcast.
Yeah, and you can look it up on YouTube anyway. There's loads of clips of him talking about this.
Oh, Ian, no need to. These guys, if they're subscribed to the Fortean Words podcast, then you'll be able to hear what Spreaker, Anchor FM, all the good shops.
Spotify, Apple, all of them.
Yeah.
Tesco's,
Twitter, Pornhub.
What do you think to
Pornhub?
So what do you think to the what do you think to the theory that his so-called magic powers? Then do you think that's all a load? Do you think it's a load of nonsense? Him just talking crap, or him being mental, or what, Ian?
Well, I think I think it was more to do with him being mental. If these powers do exist, then I would think other people are more likely to have them than him. But the fact that he was mad, that was obvious. So if he was to say that, if someone more reliable was to say it,
I am willing to believe he had some sort of paranormal gift, because the way he was able to do all these murders and rapes without the police just, instantly saying, well, we've spoken with the social services, you're obviously noncing your kids.
Yeah, but he was able to shut them up, and the same with his victims. The victims he chose were young, vulnerable women who had been through some kind of trauma, had left home, had run away from home.
Or just extremely naive.
And, run away from home, got no money, gone on the game. No one gives a, they're not going to be missed. And Cromwell Street was like that, with lodgers coming and going, very transient.
Just going to some of the grim stuff. I've got the death. I found there's an article from the Independent about the death masks. So where are we first? So Alison Chambers, 16, was discovered with a leather belt fastened around her skull, while a knotty cloth, square folded and rolled in to form a loop, was found next to the skull of Teresa Siegenthaler, 21. Lucy Partington, 21, had 2 pieces of woven cord. Fucking adverts keep moving the text while I'm trying to read it.
You need to get an ad blocker, Hemi.
Yeah, I think I need to put one on my Chrome. So she had 2 pieces of woven cord type material knotted together below her jaw, and Juanita Mott, 18, was discovered with a band of fabric passing under her jaw and around the back of her head, and a plastic covered rope wrapped around other bones. A ring mask of adhesive tape was found near the skull of Linda Goff, 19, and Carol Cooper, 15, was discovered with an elasticated cloth band around the low part of her skull, which had been wound round her jaw and the back of her head. There were no masks on Heather West or Shirley Robinson, whose remains were found at 25, or on those of Charmaine West, daughter of Mr. West's first wife, Rena, discovered at their previous home, Midland Road. Does that suggest that some of these were kind of impulse murders then?
I think the Charmaine, I would think, was. Rose was 17, looking after 3 kids. Fred was in jail.
Yeah.
The kids were playing up. She loses her temper. Being unstable herself, she goes too far and kills the child. So it has happened in other cases.
What happened in Heather West's murder? Do you think that was an impulse one then? Do you think that's why she didn't have any of this kind of stuff?
It was a strategic one, because obviously they didn't, Heather was most likely to spill the beans on what was happening. So, yeah, that one could have been planned and probably was. But,
so it says, Professor Knight said that most of the bodies had been decapitated, dismembered, and had the legs removed at the hip joints. I mean, does this speak to his kind of... did he have like a bit of experience in the butchery game from his delivering, maybe? The remains were discovered at Cromwell Street were in anatomical disarray, in graves too small for them to be buried full length. In every case, the bones were missing. But in every case, bones were missing. Most commonly, one or both kneecaps, and large numbers of wrist, ankle, toe, and finger bones. They were cut marks made by sharp implements on many bones, and a knife was found in Lucy Partington's grave.
So he took the knee. I can't stop doing that. So that's the 4th time tonight I've had that one. Yeah, I'm proud of that. I thought of that myself. So yeah, he took the knee.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's odd. But when he cuts the bodies up like this, it could, it's more likely that was the best way to bury the bodies. So you can cut them up, make them into a smaller kind of square rectangular package, and just slot them in the hole, rather than a lengthways full body flopping all over the place.
Oh, have you heard the story about Midland Road, Ian?
I've heard lots of stories about Midland Road.
Have you heard what it's used for now?
I saw a video on it this week, and I thought it was just still a regular house. Is it still?
It was used as the house where it was used as a brothel, ironically enough. Dozens of women from Eastern Europe are feared to have been lured into the UK by a criminal gang who promised them stable jobs and good incomes. But once in the country, up to 40 victims. Fuck.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is a steady job and a regular income.
Yeah, so basically, Eastern European women it was a brothel for Eastern European women. Was what 25 Midland Road became.
Yeah. We should pay it a visit sometime.
Yeah. Have you seen that? So also, Charles Bronson taunted Fred West to kill himself just days before he committed suicide.
Based. Kaptain doesn't like it when I recount the stories of Charlie Bronson and the unorthodox tactics he developed for fighting.
Where is it? Bronson, who had been in prison for 40 years, said he kept on at him day and night. Fucking moving again. Christ, I'm trying to fucking read it. He said he kept on at him day and night to top himself. The serial killer hung himself at Winston Green after being charged with 12 murders. Writing in his new book, Charles Bronson stole my sanity. The infamous lag says, I drove him mad, and let's face it, he was a beast. When he hanged himself, he did us all a favour, especially me, because I was losing my voice. Why can't Rose follow him straight to hell? Can't we have a party then?
He took the easy way out in doing that, though.
So he's now Charles Salvador, by the way, boys and girls.
Change his name again.
Yeah.
So what happened to Bronson? Has he got bored with the Death Wish films?
Fucking hell, yeah. So Charles Bronson later goes on to claim our serial killer Patrick Psycho McKay, who murdered 2 old ladies and 9 others, was often targeted by cons. Some days we would get lucky and catch him in the shower. And he never once fought back. He just screamed like a girl rolling into a ball on the floor. Up against an 80-year-old woman, he was Tarzan. Oh yeah, big brave fucker. Facing a man, was he? Pussy. He added, don't ever forget he's a monster. If you show 1 ounce of humanity, he will only show you contempt.
So he got done in the shower, did he?
Yeah.
You know, for once, I'm agreeing with Charlie Bronson.
Charles Bronson did nothing wrong.
No,
dropped the soap.
I've got a funny one here. Do you remember the Walker's ad campaign where Gary Lineker held up a picture of anybody? He held up any picture that you sent in.
Oh no!
Yeah, it was Fred West.
Hilarious consequences.
Great shot. Check it out in the Walker's Wave below, and the fingers crossed for those Champions League final tickets. There was someone sent in a Harold Shipman, Rolf Harris, Fred West. Purple Aki.
This is the British public.
Ricky Gervais.
Oh, he's a proper wrong un.
Yeah.
I mean, you
know, Jonathan King.
We might joke about Fred West, but Ricky Gervais. Oh, just one look at his greasy fucking face. That's got to be a sex crime.
Do you want to hear Fred West's repulsive New Year's Day request?
Go for it.
He wanted to do a duet with Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
The letters Rose.
Oh God! So the small bodies were found. West confessed, took his own life after all the fucking pictures are finished loading. In letter to his wife, recounted November 1995 by the Herald, he wrote, "Well, Rose, it's your birthday on November 19th, 1994, and you'll be 41, still as beautiful and lovely as I love you. We will always be in love. Most wonderful thing in my life is when I met you. How our love was special to us. So, love, keep your promises. You know what they are. And when we are put together forever and ever, it's up to you."
What did he mean by this?
When they were in court together for this, she blanked him though. He tried to make contact with her, eye contact, give her a smile, and she pretended not to know him. And that's when that was when Fred spilled the beans and said she was involved. Prior to that, he said it was all me. Rose had nothing to do with it. But after that incident, he said he redid his statements and said yes, she was involved.
Was that his suicide? Was it? Was the
suicide? It was before the suicide.
No, the New Year's Day. This as per usual. This article is written really, really badly.
Mm.
This is
Yeah,
why
'cause
journalists deserve
The
break.
accompany suicide note went read to Rose West. Happy New Year, darling. Oh my love, Fred West. Didn't he think killing himself would get her off or something? Is that what it was?
No, because she'd initially he wasn't. He was saying she wasn't involved in his earlier interviews, but then they both had a court appearance together. So obviously that was the first time that they'd seen each other for a while. He thought, yes, we can make contact, and so the feeling's still there. She blanked him in court. She didn't make any eye contact with him. Looked straight ahead. And it was after that then he said that he told the truth and said Rose was involved in these murders and dropped her in it.
Yeah, because
suicide contradicts that, but that's what you did.
Yeah. Did you tell their wonderful son? Their wonderful son is a upstanding pillar of the community, isn't he?
He shagged a 14-year-old and went to did time for it. So I think some of the kids have tried to commit suicide after this. So
May's got a book out. It's called Love Always Mum, which reveals chilling letters from murderous mum Rose sent from behind bars. Oh, that sounds nice, doesn't it?
Sounds interesting. I wouldn't mind a read of that. Actually, I read a book on Rose West about her background and who then what she developed into. So there's some good books out there, and also there's some good on YouTube. There's 5 or 6 good documentaries on there that have been on Channel 5, ITV.
Yeah, they're quite interesting. The tapes are interesting, aren't they?
Yeah, they're amusing. Let's put it like that. But there's some good stuff out there to check out if you're interested in this case.
Yes. So I think we have. So I just want to. Uno, a card game said about Rose. He said Scorpio, typical.
Oh.
So that's us done for another week. I hope you enjoyed that. It was wonderful, wasn't it?
It was great. It was a good coverage from what we could in the allocated time. So
yeah,
we've done well.
I enjoyed the bits where Hemi and Ian did the talking.
Yeah. So right, that's us done for another week. I'm not sure what we're doing next week. Night all.